We just got a ton of information for Sonic X Shadow Generations, and everything looks fantastic. I absolutely cannot wait for this game to be released. But before yesterday, there was a mystery that lingered on my mind. Ever since the game got fully revealed at Summer Game Fest, we were made aware of an additional level and skin that would be coming to Shadow Generations as future DLC, and we had no idea what this could have been until the other day. At the Sony State of Play, it was revealed that this DLC pack will include a Shadow movie-inspired skin and a movie-inspired stage, and I honestly didn't think this was going to happen. It does look fantastic though, I just want to say that right now. Putting Shadow in this more realistic environment was a great idea as it looks breathtaking, and it shows the capabilities of the graphics engine. It kind of reminds me of Quadratum from Kingdom Hearts, because when you go to that world, everything just looks more realistic, including Sora's design. It's a similar thing here. Shadow's movie design in the game looks very jarring though, I'll admit. I understand it's very difficult to translate a realistic design into a game that obviously can't render all of that on the fly, so with that in mind, it does get the job done. He's also voiced by Keanu Reeves, which I was not expecting in the slightest, but hey, I'm not complaining. It is so cool hearing him voice Shadow in an actual Sonic game. The actual stage itself seems to take place in the Tokyo setting from the Sonic Movie 3 trailer, and I know I already made the Kingdom Hearts comparison, but when watching the State of Play, I saw this shot and immediately thought of Kingdom Hearts, which isn't a bad thing. I can't wait to play this level, and from the little bit of footage we've seen from it, it looks like it could stack up next to the other levels present in the game. Anyway, with that out of the way, the main reason I'm making this video is to discuss the last few secret zones and bosses in Shadow Generations, if there are any, and maybe even some that could be added as DLC in the future. Now, I already made a couple of videos similar to this in the past where I predicted zones and bosses that could be added to the game. However, those videos aged poorly because I went into those predictions with the notion that A, all of the games the zones and bosses take place in would have to take place before Generations, and B, Shadow had to be present in those games as well. And well, after that, we got confirmation that both Sunset Heights from Sonic Forces and Chaos Island from Sonic Frontiers were going to be in the game, pretty much debunking that whole thing. So at the time of recording this video, we have a total of 5, maybe even 6 zones confirmed for the game, along with the 2 bosses being Bio Lizard and Metal Overlord, and presumably 2 rival fights as well with Sonic and Mephiles. I say maybe 6 zones because it is possible that Radical Highway could be a level in the game. I said before that it wasn't going to be an actual level, as there is Radical Highway DNA present in the weird Doom City areas that are presumably going to show up in the middle of the normal stages. However, one of my bros, G-Dub, pointed out that in this screenshot, we can also see the Radical Highway bridge in the hub world, implying that Radical Highway has some sort of presence in the white space like the other full zones, but I digress. Now, with all of the new information we got regarding the new zones introduced in the game, I want to kind of update my predictions from that previous video I was talking about with this new information in mind. First up, I think it's pretty likely that we can get a level from Sonic Unleashed. Yes, while Shadow wasn't present in that game, he was referenced a couple of times, but even if that's a stretch, it's clear that it doesn't matter in the end since, again, we got Chaos Island in the game. Anyway, my pick for an Unleashed stage would have to be Dragon Road. Unleashed was full of visually distinctive level aesthetics, but I think Dragon Road has a certain vibe to it that I think Shadow would fit really well in. The original Generations Rooftop Run was a great pick, don't get me wrong, but it kind of blended in with a lot of the other levels because so many levels in the OG Generations had a city/town aesthetic. And with Shadow Generations, we're kind of already creeping into that territory a little bit, so I think ruling out levels like Windmill Isle, Empire City, and Rooftop Run is pretty necessary. They could go with Cool Edge, and that would be pretty neat because Generations doesn't have a snow level. Jungle Joyride is also an interesting pick they could go with, as this is still one of my favorite levels in any Sonic game, but I think it shares a little too many similarities to Kingdom Valley, so unfortunately, I'm getting this one out of here as well. And from the remaining options we have, I think Dragon Road is just the perfect pick. Now, if they do add any Unleashed stage, I think something cool they could do is for the first act to be set during the day and the second act to be set during the night. In doing so, there could be one level focused on speed and another focused more on combat in the Doom powers. That would be a pretty clever and nice way to pay homage to Sonic Unleashed. The next game I think they should pull a level from is none other than Sonic Colors. Now, some may bat an eye at this, but I think Colors would make more sense than Unleashed, because Shadow actually appears in this game. Well, Not the Wii version, of course, but the DS version. Yeah, the DS version of Colors had you interacting with several Sonic characters, including Shadow and Asteroid Coaster. And you know what, man? That's perfect, because I think Asteroid Coaster would be the best pick to put in Shadow Generations. Just the pure atmosphere of the level fits the tone of Shadow perfectly. It's kind of the opposite of Planet Wisp, which is a bright and fun level, while Asteroid Coaster is more dark and atmospheric. And oh, what do you know, Planet Wisp was in Sonic Generations, so Asteroid Coaster being included in Shadow Generations would just be perfect. The only thing I wouldn't want them to do is bring the Wisps back. The Wisps killed Planet Wisp in Generations for me, and they're just unnecessary, especially with the Doom powers this time around. If they want to have those gimmicky segments that they would normally use the Wisps for, then just use the Doom powers Shadow already has. Simple as that. But yeah, I would love it if Asteroid Coaster was in this game. And that brings us to the grand finale of the game. What level are they going to choose to cap off the whole experience? Now, I know this is going out of release order, but come on, dude, they gotta have a level from Shadow the Hedgehog in here. Black Doom is the main villain of Shadow Generations, for crying out loud. Why wouldn't there be a level from Shadow the Hedgehog? Everyone's first thought would likely be Westopolis, and I mean, can you blame them? This level is iconic at this point. However, for a final level, I think they should definitely choose Final Haunt or Black Comet or The Last Way. It really doesn't matter, they're all the same environment. Say what you will about Shadow the Hedgehog, but these were pretty good levels to end the game on, and I feel like they could work in Shadow Generations as well. Hell, this could even have some lore implications with Black Doom. That would be pretty cool. Anyway, let's move on to the bosses. I already stated that we can assume that they're going with the same rival fight and boss fight setup that the original game did, and if that is the case, then we already have 2 confirmed bosses and 2 confirmed rival fights. And we can kind of pretty much conclude that the final boss will be the weird white Doom eye thing that we see in the new trailer. So if we go by my zone predictions, that will put us at 9 zones, which is the same amount that the OG game had. Well, if Shadow Gens has 9 zones, then it'll probably have 3 boss fights and 3 rival fights as well. So for the 3rd boss fight of the game, I think they're going to go with Knight from Sonic Frontiers. I think this would be a really cool fight for Shadow to utilize the Doom Wings ability in, and while I wouldn't really expect it to play like a traditional Titan fight, I think it will definitely take certain cues from Frontiers, like the overall beat-em-up stylistic feel, for example. And as for the remaining rival fight, I mean, come on, dude, it's gotta be Infinite from Sonic Forces. I thought Mephiles was a stretch, but he's confirmed to be in the game. Infinite has to be in here too. I would be surprised if he wasn't. And as for what they could do with this rival fight, I really don't know. There were a few fights against him in Forces that all felt significantly different from one another, so who knows? But yeah, guys, those are my updated predictions for the remaining zones and bosses we have yet to see in Shadow Generations. I think at the very least, we're getting a level from Shadow the Hedgehog to end the game on, but I would love to see a level from Colors or Unleashed as well. And of course, a fight against Infinite or Knight would be awesome. Now, before ending the video, I just want to remind everyone that I'm currently hosting a giveaway for the Digital Deluxe Edition of Sonic X Shadow Generations over on my Discord server, so join that if you're interested. Also, me and my friends have started a podcast called Starfall Radio, where we discuss all things Sonic. We just dropped a massive episode recapping the Sonic Central that just aired, so check that out as well if you're interested. I'll leave links to both in the description. But that's all for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.